Isagi is almost too stunned to speak after Kaiser's goal, saying that Kaiser managed to do a Kaiser impact in that position, and not to mention that he nutmegged Aiku off a kind of bicycle kick. With this high-level chess match and a player's rapid evolution, Kaiser by himself managed to destroy all that, saying that Kaiser is this game's ultimate game changer. After that, Kaiser's lackey, or excuse me, Ness, is of course rushing over to congratulate Kaiser on his wonderful goal. Ness tells Kaiser that his goal was mind-blowing. He continues hyping up Kaiser and throws some shots at Isagi for no particular reason. However, when Ness is done, Kaiser just tells him to shut up. Kaiser says that the goal Ness was so proud of was nothing more than a shitty goal. For Kaiser to get Lorenzo off him and score, he had no other choice but to resort to that tactic. Ness has a shaky voice as he still tries to argue, saying that Kaiser's goal was literally amazing. This makes Kaiser's blood boil even more as he asks Ness if he thinks that he would be happy scoring a goal by feeding on Isagi's scraps like a hyena. Explained to Ness that his last goal was entirely started by Isagi. Once he got his hands on the ball, Uber's defense moved to stop him. And as a result, Lorenzo was forced to leave Kaiser to deal with Isagi's pass, which was supposed to go to Yukimiya. Even though Kaiser scored the goal in the end, it doesn't change the fact that the leading figure was undoubtedly Isagi. And that's something that Kaiser will never forgive himself for scoring a goal like that, but ending it with looking at Isagi's eyes and saying that the last goal will be his. On the other hand, we have Isagi, who says that Kaiser is a goddamn genius. He managed to outread his entire thought process, but that's not even the most shocking part, as that goal was mega world-class level. You can try 10,000 times and probably would never be able to replicate it. Everyone on his field, or even the entire world, won't be able to pull off that level of shot. Kaiser really is the genius that he needs to emulate, and the rival that he needs to take down if he wants to become the best player in the world. Even so, in that last moment, Isagi says that Kaiser was definitely keeping track of him, and that if he hadn't, then that goal would be impossible. It's starting to come to a point where Kaiser needs to constantly keep track on Isagi to score. This means that slowly but surely Isagi is getting inside Kaiser's head. He ends it by saying that this will be fun as he has a psychopathic face on him. And I'm wondering, I've already said this before, but do you guys think that the other players on the field just randomly see Isagi smiling out of nowhere and look like a psychopath? Anyway, Isagi gets out of his psychopathic state and sees Sendu down on the ground with a cramped leg. However, he isn't the only one, as Corona also has fallen victim to one. Isagi quickly asks him if he's okay and starts helping him stretch. While he is stretching Corona's majestic leg, he thinks that since Corona doesn't have meta-vision, he's constantly giving it his all to keep up with Isagi. We also see that the Uber's goalkeeper has managed to get an injury and even might have suffered serious rib injuries, which is nothing fun at all. After that, we get to the bench and see Snuffy putting on his headband as he tells Fukaku to get ready. And with that, Snuffy and Fukaku get up from their seats and subs, in which forces Noah to sub in as well, as he tells Snuffy not to make his job any harder than it has to be. And just like that, both of the masters have come onto the field and are ready to give it their all. Pray for my boy Corona. May him rest in peace. Isagi thinks that since they subbed in players due to injuries, the situation on the field will definitely change, and says that he needs to capture the future faster than anyone else, as his biggest desire is to score another goal. After that, we get back to the bench and see Hiroi looking at Isagi with big eyes as he asks him to take him with him. Hiroi is looking at Isagi while saying that his heart won't stop pounding and that this is the high-intensity level of football that he wants to be a part of. Both Isagi and Kaiser are set on being the ones to score the last goal and seal up the deal. But just then, Baru asks Snuffy if they're going to do that. You know that. And Snuffy tells him that they are, and just like that, the game restarts. Isagi notices directly that the Uber's formation has changed, and that both Nico and Lorenzo both moved up, and also committed most of their players forward. Now that the Ubers have incorporated Nico's vision and playmaking with Lorenzo's outstanding dribbling in the middle, the ball doesn't stick as much, and the tempo has gotten noticeably faster. Even so, Isagi can't allow himself to be swept away by their fast tempo, and has to find the perfect spot where he can intercept, and he finally finds it. He goes to take the ball as it's headed to Lorenzo, however Snuffy reaches it before him, telling him that it is close, even borderline too close. He looks with the meta vision eyes, and says that the rumors are true after all, and that Isagi reads the game well. However, Isagi is in a shocked state, saying that Snuffy positioned himself to prevent any turnovers from happening. But not just that. Isagi also says that he got metadated by Snuffy, and I can't get enough of that expression. Even though he couldn't get the ball, Noah comes and tells him that he's going well, and tells Isagi that they will trap him, and Isagi is extremely happy that Noah linked up with his movements. However, Even with Noah and Isagi, they don't stand a chance against Snuffy, who's keeping the ball as safe as a fortress. And before they know it, he's already passed away the ball to Lorenzo, who passes it along to Nico, who gets some competition as Ness comes in his way. Before Ness can do anything useful for once, Nico has already passed away the ball to Snuffy, who's still battling Noah. Snuffy encourages his team and tells them to not even give Bastard Munchin the slightest chance to think. Snuffy sees Baru in the box and legit passes the ball on a player from Bastard Munchin to then get it to Baru, which has to be one of the coldest passes I've ever seen. Baru gets the ball and Gagamaru knows that he's in big trouble as Baru is filled with options and Gagamaru has no way of stopping all of them. Baru shoots but gets double blocked by both Kaiser and Isagi, who fall on the ground with their legs crossed. How cute. Isagi says that it was good that they managed to hold on, however he's disappointed that Kaiser managed to see the same thing as he did. Even so, they are in a really bad spot and are barely hanging on by the skin of their teeth, not to mention that it's obvious that the player who's controlling the game is none other than Snuffy, who's already got another attacking pattern for Ubers to try out, and Isagi is stuck trying to think of a way to beat him. Snuffy is still in possession of the ball as he and the Ubers continue to advance. Isagi thinks that they might be done for and that their defense is barely hanging on as he wonders what kind of brain Snuffy has. Snuffy passes to Lorenzo and Isagi notices right away this is once again another attacking pattern, and if he were to go in blindly he would get shut down instantly, so he has no choice but to carefully observe their movements and find a way to crush Snuffy's world-class tactic. Lorenzo passes another one from the Ubers, who are continuing their attack on the left side, which leaves everyone worried about a possible cross. This makes them forget about the real threat, who is Snuffy, and he's carefully slipping through their blind spots. The pass is going to Snuffy, who luckily gets some trouble by Kaiser, who was able to see that Snuffy was wide open. Even so, he doesn't stand a chance, as Snuffy jumps up and heads away the ball over Kaiser's head. The ball has a crazy bounce with it as it's going to Nico, who's in a duel with Noah. And I just found it really funny that Noah called him Pipsqueak, it's just something about that word. Anyway, Nico tells Noah that everything is going as planned, as he makes a backheel pass to Baru, who's coming at an incredible speed behind them. Even so, Isagi is able to see through it, and manages to come and stop him at the last second. The ball goes out of bounds, which gives Ubers a throw-in. Isagi knows that they are only holding on thanks to Noah, Kaiser, and himself being able to read their attacks. Since the three of them are covering the team's blind spots, they haven't conceded a goal, but even with the three of them covering, they're completely on the defensive and are barely able to hold their ground. Right now, he doesn't have the slightest image of stealing the ball and attacking, not to mention that Snuffy is completely different from Chris and Lavinho, who are just focused on scoring their own goals. Meanwhile, Snuffy is over here doing everything he can to maximize the effectiveness of his team's strategies. He's not using his superb body balance, physicality, or goal-scoring abilities as a striker. Rather, he's using his abilities to help his team score goals with the tactics they came up with. And finally, Isagi says that he's got it, Snuffy's thought process, and that this guy is just making sure that the rest of the team follows their tactics, like a watchman. It's no wonder that he can outread Isagi's metavision, since Snuffy's focused on surveying the game, and it's easy to contain a guy who's selfishly trying to steal the ball to score goals. However, he can't keep playing defensively and barely solving their tactics, and he's got to seize the initiative and force Snuffy to react to him, saying that if he can't see further into the future, then he can't win. Just then, Noah comes by and asks Isagi if it's hard playing against Snuffy. Isagi says that it is, and Noah explains that the core of Snuffy's playstyle is Jujutsu, which originated from Japan, which Snuffy has managed to incorporate into his playstyle. The core training, biomechanics, and close combat. Snuffy incorporates all of the Jujutsu principles and fuses them with football. Thanks to that, Snuffy's already world-class hold-up plays and ball retention skills became even more refined, not to mention his passing and scoring. Noah tells Isagi that strictly from a striker's perspective, he's stronger than Snuffy, but from a round perspective, he's the more versatile and flexible football, calling Snuffy the best player in the world based on overall abilities. After that, Isagi finally asks the question, which will determine the rest of the game, as he asks Noah how they will defeat him. However, Noah says with a funny face that he's clueless, saying that Ubers are moving as a team and efficiently launching one attack after another. Meanwhile, Bastard Munchin is disorganized since most of them can't predict their plays. Even though Noah has no clue how to beat Snuffy, he asks Isagi to hold out for 3 minutes and wait for the masters to forcefully leave. As Noah walks away, he tells Isagi that sometimes being patient will open up a path. This sentence sparks something in Isagi. Noah tells Isagi to stop spacing out and that the match will continue, but when he looks back, he can see Isagi already sprinting away. Isagi thinks that with this new way, he can surpass Snuffy as he runs to Raichi and asks him if he's willing to die. Ubers is beginning to start their throw-in. Meanwhile, we see Isagi and Raichi arguing with each other. Drago throws the ball to Nico, who passes it straight back to him, and he then gives it to Lorenzo. As the Ubers are advancing on the field, Raichi comes before Snuffy. Before we can see any more of it, we finally get back and see what it was that Isagi told Raichi. Isagi told Raichi to man-mark Snuffy, making it a duel between the two. Raichi couldn't believe it, telling Isagi not to say something so nonchalantly, and that it was that easy, he would already be doing it. Isagi says that he's right, but what Isagi wants him to do isn't the typical man-marking. It's only limited to an area of 2 meters radius half circle, which in other words just means a protractor man-marking. Isagi wants Raichi to constantly position himself in front of Snuffy inside of that 2-meter radius, and if the ball comes inside that area, he's free to go and steal the ball. But the most important part isn't taking the ball away from Snuffy, but keeping Snuffy in front of him within that 2-meter radius no matter what. We get back to the game, and we see Raichi doing just that. As Raichi is keeping a close watch on Snuffy, we can hear Isagi's thoughts, as he says that this strategy is riding on Raichi's grit, stamina, and his ability to win 1 versus 1s. And if they screw up, Raichi will be a laughingstock, and his value will plummet. But if he somehow manages to contain Snuffy, then Raichi Jingo will instantly be a household name. Lorenzo passes the ball to Snuffy, which makes Raichi activate his sexy protractor mode, which even gets Snuffy to admit that Raichi is troublesome. Snuffy goes forward and pulls out some extremely cool dribbles, which almost catches Raichi off guard. But Raichi can hold on as he knows that the main objective isn't to steal the ball. Raichi is doing all that he can to assert his position in Snuffy's radius. As Snuffy tries to push Raichi away, he can't, which makes him admit that Raichi's got a strong core on him. As Isagi is watching from the side, he says that this is perfect, telling him that just not getting beat is already a job well done, and with Raichi constantly in Snuffy's face, they can now limit a lot of his options. They have to consider a myriad of options, and it's impossible to predict the future. But if Raichi can limit even 1 or 2 of Snuffy's options, then the number of the attacking patterns Snuffy can use will decrease. Snuffy passes the ball, and the Ubers just pass the ball around for a bit, while Isagi thinks that by using the process of elimination, the player most likely to kickstart their attack is Lorenzo. Isagi was spot on as he came in between Lorenzo and the ball just in the last minute, which even shocked Lorenzo and showed that Raichi and Isagi's remote tag team defense was successful. But out of nowhere, a hand comes in Isagi's way. It's Aiku who says that this is awesome and that he's totally in the zone now. Aiku explains that if Snuffy gets man-marked, it's his job to recover the loose ball. And with the ball at his feet, he sends it over to Baru with one of the nastiest vertical passes I've ever seen, going past both Ness and Yukimiya. Baru is rushing towards the goal, but for some reason, Gagamaru isn't worried as he says that Isagi has done a good job, and that he doesn't know why, but for some reason this time he will stop Baru. Baru is currently right in front of the goal with the ball at his feet. But that doesn't matter to Gagamaru, who has awakened some kind of sixth sense, or as he calls it, his wild instinct. Baru is getting ready to shoot, but Gagamaru knows that Baru isn't going to shoot just yet, which turns out to be true, as he does a chop feint instead. Gagamaru says that Baru's primary weapon is his right foot mid-range shot, which is why he'll shift the ball onto his right foot. But thanks to Raichi and Isagi slightly delaying the opponent's attack, the Bastard's defense can catch. One of Bastard's defenders is coming at Baru and is trying to stop him, but Gagamaru is still more ready than ever, as he knows that when the moment comes that he can't see Baru's shooting motion is when he will strike. And look at that, Gagamaru was spot on as he shot just when he anticipated it to. And because of that, the man and the myth actually manages to save one of Baru's shot, which is astonishing. Even Corona is shocked to his core by Gagamaru's save. But it's not time for him to relax just yet, as he gets up on his feet right away to then pull all his strength into his arm and throws away the ball up on the field.